Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, and welcome to a special episode of my Sims 4 wishlist. I do this every year where I recap the past 12 months of The Sims 4 and talk about some of the things I want to see most for the next year. There's really no sugarcoating this one. If 2020 was a disappointing year for The Sims 4, 2021 was even worse. Not even a pack or kit specifically focused around cleaning could save this one. While there were some things that happened this year here and there that I think were good things that overall saved this year from being a complete waste of everyone's time, it still leaves me very concerned about where The Sims is gonna go from here and not feeling that optimistic about 2022. Actually, I would say, just like with 2020, 2021 started off pretty strong, with the stuff pack in January, as we typically do, and that was paranormal stuff, and I was really surprised by this one. I think this might be the best stuff pack we've overall received so far, even though personally, I prefer Nifty Knitting a little more. Paranormal stuff, I can't deny, has a lot of effort put into it, especially compared to a lot of the older stuff packs. If only every stuff pack for The Sims 4 had this level of quality, I think I would like stuff packs more. We also got the Scared emotion for free. I had long lost hope that we would get this emotion. That's something I wanted since before the game came out. So weird looking back, thinking paranormal stuff and the return of Bonehilda was this year. Like 2021, just emphasize that one on the end because my goodness, it was a long one. Moving on to February, it wasn't too bad either, at least at first. We did get a pretty interesting free update. I think they heard our feedback about the absolutely terrible hot tub last year, and they actually collaborated with custom content creators to have some of their stuff put into the game. This ranged from clothes to makeup to objects and even a couple of recipes as well. My favorite being butter chicken, made by Ice Munmun, because butter chicken is actually my favorite Indian food in real life, so I was over the moon to see this in the game, although I still wish food in The Sims 4 overall looked better. But still, 21 free items for The Sims 21st anniversary, not too bad, and I hope they will do this actually more often in the future with more custom content creators, whether it is for another anniversary or just for any time of the year. But unfortunately, as it typically seems to be the case with The Sims 4, the good news did not last long, because in that very same update, kits were leaked, which is the 4th DLC type for The Sims 4. I already thought 3 was too much, but geez, yeah, this was overkill. So we roll into March, and that's where the first 3 kits all released at the same time. The Country Kitchen Kit, which is a build kit, Throwback Fit Kit, which is a Create a Sim one, and the Gameplay Kit, which is the infamous Bust the Dust. While there are some pretty decent items, I think overall kits do not have nearly enough items for the $5 US, and Bust the Dust, the one gameplay kit we have so far, has a lot of issues. They fixed some, but a lot still remain, and I think instead of the dust bunnies, they should have gone full on realism and also have brooms and dustpans in addition to the vacuums. Thankfully not all of March was bad though, because we did get a free update later that added new swatches for existing objects, some updated afro-textured hair, and finally we got bunk beds, though it was really weird how they did that because the bunk beds weren't actually fully completed. Most of the slots for placing objects underneath the bunk bed would not be enabled until a few months later. Oh, and I almost forgot, they did improve certain base game traits as well, my favorite being Clumsy, because now sometimes Clumsy Sims occasionally stumble and have a higher chance of breaking certain objects. Then things got quiet for a little while, other than a couple more hairstyles being updated for base game, but then they announced Summer of Sims, which I would say is the time span in which we got the bulk of the content for this year. The first thing being the Courtyard Oasis kit. I really wish that had been elaborated in a bigger theme with a world to go along with it, rather than just some items that go with a courtyard. Then, very shortly after, we already got the announcement for the next Game Pack Dream Home Decorator, and that came out in early June. I feel that this is not really a true game pack. It's more of an extra large stuff pack with a lot of objects and not really much gameplay, since most of the gameplay is just spent in build mode, doing what you do already, except with gold. It's also very broken. It's basically the new Dine Out in terms of broken game packs. I actually enjoyed the free update alongside this game pack more because we got likes and dislikes, adding more personality to Sims. Bunk beds were finally made fully functional, and we also got some more hair colors, which I would say, yeah, we were definitely in dire need of, though I was really hoping we'd get some sort of color wheel or like the same color sliders we have for the makeup and skin tones. But even with that recent release of a game pack, they did not wait long to announce the next thing, which was the Cottage Living expansion pack, which I would say is by far the best release of this year, and actually one of my favorite expansion packs overall for The Sims 4. We finally got our farming pack, though with a cottagecore twist, and I'm so glad finally we can see what llamas look like in the Sims universe. We also got quite a bit of stuff in the update alongside this expansion pack too, including a few more objects. Kids can now garden and also partake in cooking through the new group cooking interaction. And we finally got the ability to make our own pawns again, instead of just relying on debug objects. Also worth mentioning, just before Cottage Living released, we got Sims Sessions, which was a free limited time event where 3 different artists performed their songs in Simlish. I actually thought this was kind of fun, and I wouldn't mind this returning, though maybe just do a bands pack first, and then maybe that could make this even better. Fast forward towards the end of August, and we got another build kit, the Industrial Loft. They were definitely piling on the build kits at this point, and this one is pretty infamous for having the window that was advertised in the initial GIF, but was not included in the DLC, and they actually did give this to us eventually, but yeah, this wasn't until the end of the year almost. Moving on to September, I think that was a pretty decent month. We did get our very first pack refresh, and it was for Spa Day. In my opinion, one of the weaker game packs before this refresh, and probably one of the strongest afterwards. But regardless if you have Spa Day or not, a free update alongside it for everybody did give us toenail and fingernail customization. I think this is easily one of the best things to happen this year. Sure, it's an admission of the pack not being good enough in the first place, but I would still like to see more packs improved in the future. Maybe Get to Work would be next. I would not be surprised if they're working on an expansion pack refresh right now. I actually have done a whole series about how I would refresh each and every expansion pack for The Sims 4 so far, so feel free to check that out if you haven't already. I worked really hard on them. We did get a second free update later on in September that added well over 1,000 swatches to existing base game objects, and some Create a Sim items too, including probably one of the most popular hairstyles I've ever seen amongst players, because I think at this point I've seen like 20 different custom content versions of it, but I'm still not tired of it, and I think that really speaks a lot to its power. To wrap up the year, we had Season of Selves, which might as well be called Season of Kits because that's pretty much all we got during that time frame. No expansion pack for the end of the year like we usually do. So we had Fashion Street and Ancient Arrivals, the Create a Sim kits release on the same day, which I actually do enjoy using, but I still don't think they're worth the price, and there are some issues with some of the items. Then we also got the Blooming Rooms kit, aka the Plant kit, which I saw a lot of people asking for. Then the last one was Modern Menswear. Really unfortunate how this one turned out, because I don't mind the idea behind this style, I just don't think it translated very well into The Sims 4, because I feel like a lot of the items drifted too close to alpha-style custom content territory. Thankfully, there was still some free content left for the year, including Neighborhood Stories, which is The Sims 4 sort of take on story progression, though we only got some of it at the end of November, and we're gonna get more of it, I guess, sometime next year. That will make it a bit more in line with Sims 3 story progression. And we also had the debut of Sims Delivery Express, where they're basically these bite-sized content updates, but you don't have to worry about downloading a patch in order to activate that content. So far, I think these have been nice additions to the game. We've had 2 deliveries. The first one was a hairstyle, and the second was some build buy, as well as a couple of recipes. Hopefully we'll get plenty of deliveries next year, maybe every couple of months or so. So that's pretty much it for the past 12 months of The Sims 4. Definitely some good things like paranormal stuff, cottage living, the Spa Day refresh, and some of the updates, as well as some of the additional transparency we received with things like the live streams and the laundry list. But I think the bad stuff drowns it out, with Dream Home Decorator being the only game pack of this year, but really being like an extra large stuff pack, and the many kits. It's absurd we're nearly in the double digits, and half the number of total stuff packs, and only one of the kits so far is gameplay. There's been issues with every single kit so far, so if it weren't for the other pack types already having controversies of their own, I think you could just rename kits controversies. I really wish EA would stop making these, but unless we all stop buying kits, I think EA will still keep making them, even for The Sims 5. As a transition, I guess you could actually say that one of my most wanted things for next year is to ditch kits, but in terms of new content, I think it's disappointingly similar to what I already talked about in last year's New Year's Eve special. There are a few things crossed off the list, such as the pawn tool and a farming pack, and we kinda got interest back in the form of likes and dislikes, but I think there is still quite a bit from previous years that I still want to see. And yes, Cars is still at the top. Yep, I mean, it's not news that I really want Cars in The Sims 4, and I've explained so many times at this point in previous videos, like why I think Cars would still be able to work in The Sims 4 despite it being a closed world. And Improved Babies, of course, also up there as like a free feature that I really want to see. And Generations, yep, do I really need to explain this one? I mean, yes, please, a family-based expansion pack I think could add a lot to the game and be a good excuse to give more gameplay to age groups that are not young adults. Maybe even make the older adult stage a bit more distinct with things like the midlife crisis. I'd say now that farming is out of the way, hotels and bands are higher up on my wishlist than they were before. I'm really surprised we got Dream Home Decorator instead of a hotels and Airbnb management pack, because last year, before Snowy Escape came out, we got the ability to vacation in any residential world instead of just the designated traditional vacation worlds that we've been used to just having over the past 21 years of The Sims. So it seemed natural to me that we would get hotels to really take advantage of that, but we didn't, so I don't know. I think we'll still get hotels eventually, but it just seems weird that they didn't do that this year unless maybe the pandemic delayed those plans. I'd also love to see an update to the gallery, because I think it is still really dumb how we can't directly respond to comments, and I think it would be great if we could choose our own pictures through an in-game picture taker for whatever we upload to the gallery, not just builds, even though that's the first thing I think of, with stupid trees and lampposts getting in the way of the thumbnails and not really showing off the builds in that great a manner. But yeah, I mean, we could also use some mixing up with the poses for The Sims, and also just being able to take our own pictures for the rooms, even though those probably have the least amount of issues out of the gallery thumbnails. One big difference between last year and this year's wishlist, though, is I'm ready for an occult this time around. It's been quite a while since we got one, and also now that we did get the farming pack, and something that I felt is like really needed in terms of realism, yeah, okay, I'm more open to an occult now. And the one that I want the most is werewolves, because even though they could end up being a bit similar to vampires, I think there is still some fun stuff they could bring to the game, especially having this sort of like wolf pack dynamic, and also finally bringing back that dang body hair, and also lunar cycles. I think lunar cycles are really underrated, just don't bring back the zombie outbreaks with them, those were really annoying. One other big difference is that I would like to see more pack refreshes, because those weren't even a thing at this time last year. And I could actually make a separate video about the pack refreshes I want the most, but I wonder if maybe like around spring or summer is when we'll get the next pack refresh, and it would make sense for Island Living to fall into that, even though I said earlier, yeah, maybe Get to Work is a bit more likely. I guess one thing I haven't talked about that much that I'd like to see eventually is more expansion of social media within the game. And I don't mean like from player to player, I mean between our Sims. Because we still don't have online dating for some reason, and also it would be nice to see Simstagram as a full-on feature, because in some recent trailers, like for Dream Home Decorator and Snowy Escape, they show this Simstagram thing, but you can't actually do that. It's just like an interaction where we just watch the sim, type on the phone or the computer, and that's it. And recently I was streaming with some Sims 4 mods, including Arnie's Plum Fruits, and that illustrates even more, in my opinion, just how cool it would be to have a Simstagram feature in the game. Also, as a last thing, I'd love to see them focus more in general on gameplay, because the past couple of years have been pretty focused on build, and I'd like for them to shift away from that. I mean, yeah, give us spiral stairs and pool steps and multi-purpose lots if they can, but other than that, I think they really need to bring more focus back to the gameplay, especially with just how much the aesthetic kits really dominated 2021. But that wraps up my New Year's special for this year, so I think 2021 was overall one of the worst years for The Sims 4 so far. Just like last year, I'd say 2016 was still a little bit worse because even though, yeah, that year was dominated by stuff packs, which has more content than kits, I don't remember the updates from that year being quite as good as this year's, and also I like cottage living way more than city living. But man, am I scared for next year and the year after that, and just the future of The Sims in general. But feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you thought of this year, and what you want to see most next year. And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my latest gaming content, including life simulations and more. So I'll talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!